second. I'm not going to do that. But aside from that little crazy thing, the Phantom Menace is 20 years old. Wow, where does the time go? You know what? In fact, for video purposes, right, I'll tell you guys of a story, right? A story about a little boy who he didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and movies were an escape for him, and he enjoyed relishing in the life that is movies, and they sort of inspired him to pursue a career in either acting or the entertainment industry of some kind or something related to films. And it is thanks to these movies, right? I'm going to conclude Attack of the Clones because I shit you not right now. I'm not too sure what my first Star Wars film was. My mum seems to think that I watched Return of the Jedi first, then I watched these, then I watched the whole original trilogy. I remember seeing the original trilogy after the prequels, and I think The Phantom Menace was my intro. And I kid you not, when I got a TV for the first time in my room, I ran downstairs the next day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I opened the DVD case. I got this box set, took it upstairs to my room, and I watched both of these religiously. I watched the first one, second one, first one, second one, first one, second one, first one, second one. And then I got the original trilogy, which is just up there. I got the original trilogy. Tell you what, let me grab it. Got my Power Ranger. Right, so I got myself the get rid of that crap. Right, I got this one, and then I got this one, and then I got the greatest Star Wars movie ever. That baby right here. You see this? This is the best one ever. Don't at me, don't comment, say nothing. Just admire the beauty of this film, right? You know, you don't want to hear me talk about Revenge of the Sith or the originals, or even Attack of the Clones. Now, as much as I love Attack of the Clones, this is about the Phantom Menace. 20 years ago, right? This was my shit. I used to watch this so much, particularly for that final duel that went on to be one of the most legendary scenes and have one of the most legendary scores in Star Wars. Now, the prequels have a negative aura surrounding them. And, you know, people often give them a lot of bad rep. But the prequels gave us so much more than the sequels ever have. You know, you got in this one, you got the equivalent of Formula One in pod racing. At high speed, you know, adrenaline. Then you got the best duel in Star Wars, probably besides Anakin and Obi-Wan, and maybe Luke versus Vader in the final one, right? That was the best duel ever. Like, you had Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, and Ray Park just hammering it out. And if you watch the documentaries, they really work so hard at that fight. And George Lucas tried so hard to deliver a good story, and ultimately it was met with a lot of 50-50 hate. But what you got to understand is the original trilogy is the pinnacle of filmmaking. This changed the movie industry forever. These three films, they changed the movie industry forever. Hell, even not even Empire and Return of the Jedi, A New Hope changed the movie industry. So there was a lot of expectation riding on these prequels. Now, obviously, in comparison to the originals, I'd be lying if I said they didn't match up. They don't. They don't match up as much as they do the original trilogy. However, I find the prequel era the best era. The sequel era sucks. It's a rehash of the original trilogy era and a cash grab. This is fresh. This is new. This is different. You don't see anything here that you see in the original trilogy, except for maybe a couple of like parallel scenes or Tatooine. That's it. You don't see carbon copies of previous films. You see identical scenes, but in different context. You don't see Hoth Mark II. You see Naboo. And that technically rhymed. My friend Stuart, right, who's also on the channel, he tweeted this, so I'll share it. The Phantom Menace is now 20 years old. I know it has its problems, but I love this movie. Had one of the best lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars and awesome characters such as Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. It was, in my opinion, a great start to the prequel trilogy. And I could not agree more. This film I watched religiously. Like people keep saying, "Oh, you should have just jumped to when Anakin was a teenager." But no, because then you'll be saying, "Oh, we don't know how Anakin joined the Jedi, blah blah blah." I think it makes his descent in Revenge of the Sith so much more heartbreaking when you see him as a boy. And I'm gonna shout out Jake Lloyd here. You did a fantastic job as Anakin. I don't want to hear people coming at me like, "Oh, he did this, that, and whatever." No, he did a good job. Jake Lloyd, you did a fantastic job. And I really related to you because I'm close with my mum. So I could feel the emotion that your character had when he was saying goodbye to his mum and knowing that the next time he saw his mum again was going to be in this and she was going to die. It was heartbreaking. You know, he makes her as a promise as a young boy to come back and free her, and he fails. Not by fault of his own, but just because he fails. And, you know, what I love about this movie isn't necessarily the story itself, the characters, or the world building. The world building in this film is incredible. You go to Naboo, you go to Tatooine, you go to Coruscant. There's mention to other planets in the era, and the prequel era has some of the best planets. Now, I'd be lying if I said this film doesn't have problems. It does. Pacing is quite a thing, and in the last like 10 minutes of the movie, as the producers and George and everyone said it themselves, there's a lot of short scenes and there's a lot to take in within the last half hour. And you know, it's stylistically designed to be like that, and you can't undo that. So it was a bit much, but as a kid, I loved this. I love Jar Jar Binks. People keep saying he's a racial stereotype. No, he's not. He's not. He's just a bumbling goof. And Ahmed Best, I am shouting you out. Your story relating to this movie and the character of Jar Jar is so moving. And I give you full respect for having the guts that you have to be open about it, to talk about it. And you know what? People keep saying, "Oh, Jar Jar's this, that, and whatever," right? But they're the same people who are hating on people for hating Rose Tico. But you went and you hated Jar Jar for like 10 years. So why can't people hate Rose Tico? What's the difference? Well, to be fair, there's no difference. But this is a positive video. Back to the positive. And lest we not forget, right? I'm gonna get a nice picture up my phone now. I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. Now, Kylo Ren, he's alright, he's cool. You know, he's my guy from the sequels. Palpatine, very good. Darth Vader, the MVP. This guy here, he is the man. Now, the very minute that Darth Maul was introduced, right, he is a case of a character having impact without saying a thing. He had so little lines in this movie, but at the same time, he had such an impact. He had such an impact. It goes without saying that I love Darth Vader, and he's my favorite over Maul. But as a kid, and even now, Maul is literally right there, just beneath him, and it's difficult. I only say Vader's above him just because it's Anakin. Now, I love Vader in the original trilogy, but the only reason I put him up there is because of Anakin. That's right, controversial opinion, Anakin Skywalker. Not the Vader from the original trilogy, as cool as he was, Anakin Skywalker. It added so much to the character of Vader, and it made his fall from grace that much more heartbreaking. And for anyone who comes at me and says Hayden Christensen did a bad job, right, watch the scene when he's in the Jedi Temple and he's mulling over his decision, and him and Padme are looking out at each other. Well, they're not looking at each other, but they can feel like they're looking at each other. From the council chamber to her, like, you know, her quarters. You can feel it. The emotion on Hayden's face conveys everything about the scene. Combine it with the soundtrack, combine it with the tone. It was beautiful. It was as good as you're gonna get. So I don't want no one coming at me saying that Hayden Christensen is this, that, whatever. No, 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 no. He's a good actor. He just got he got the short end of the stick. He had tough work to work with. So leave him alone. Same as Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd did a fantastic job as Anakin. Fantastic job. Leave him alone. But back to Darth Maul. Darth Maul is one of the best characters in Star Wars, period. He is a better character than anyone in the sequel trilogy. Anyone. I don't care who you throw at me. You can throw Kylo Ren in front of me. He is better than anyone. Anyone. And he was right. If you take just the Phantom Menace Maul, not the Clone Wars, not the Rebels, just the Phantom Menace Maul only, he is a better character than any of them. And people say, oh, he's got no story. I know he's got no story. And that was the biggest problem with Maul, is he deserved to stay around the whole trilogy. He should have been around the whole trilogy. In fact, there shouldn't have been like turns between Dooku, Maul, and Grievous or whatever. They should have all three been in it. It would have made it so much more intimidating. Instead of just having one or two dudes, you have three. Imagine Dooku, Maul, and Grievous working together under Palpatine's watch, and Ventress, and Savage Opress. My God! But then we wouldn't get some of the cool stories that we have. So that's neither here nor there. But Maul is cooler than any of the new characters. Finn, predictable. Rey, Mary Sue. Kylo Ren, he's cool, but kind of not really got a lot to work with. Maybe that will change in Episode 9. Poe, he's cool, but obviously he got a talking down to from Vice Admiral Gender Studies. Luke Skywalker, I'm not going to count him. I always think of the original trilogy Luke, not that Luke. No. So yeah, Darth Maul is better than anything out of the sequel era. Controversial, I know, but it's just my opinion. The entrance, the fighting skill, the double blade, for fuck's sake. I mean, all I see in these interviews for the sequel trilogy, when they're talking about the fighting featurette, it was so hard, it was this, that, and they're all moaning. In the Phantom Menace, Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor trained for months. And it looks a lot better than that Praetorian Guard duel. And as cool as that scene was, you've got guards that are falling over themselves. You've got Kylo stabbing in the floor, and then a guard hits the blade. Like, what? Go for the head. What? Why are you hitting for the blade? What? Oh, Ryan, you tried a cool thing, but unfortunately it didn't work as well as you wanted it to. But back to the Phantom Menace. It's just hard not to talk about the other films. The Phantom Menace will always hold a special place in my heart, and it spawned so much. The amount of games that the Phantom Menace was responsible for, in fact, the prequels entirely. You had the original Lego Star Wars, Lego Star Wars 2, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, Battlefront, the good one, Battlefront 2, the good one, right? I don't care what people say, the original one is the best one. EA can't touch it. Republic Commando, right? Empire at War, KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, Jedi Academy 1, Jedi Academy 2, all these games, right? Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jedi Academy was released after the prequels. Comment down below if I'm wrong on that, and then call me a nerf herd or whatever you want to call me. This film is an example of when the fans don't get what they want and they bitch and moan, but they come around to it. Do I think the same will happen with the sequels? Probably. It will probably happen. But the difference with the prequels is the world building and everything that's on offer is so much more vast than anything that's in the sequel trilogy. It's just how it is, and I get people really complained when the prequels came out that they weren't, oh, you ruined my childhood, blah 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 blah. That's not an argument. When I hear people say that, it's just dumb as fuck. When people have criticisms of the movie, that's different, and because I've voiced them before on this channel. But when you say your childhood's ruined, it's like, okay, that's a stretch too far. And Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson did such a good job as Qui-Gon Jinn, right? He was in one movie, and he is one of the best Jedi. Just he's one of the most memorable. You won't forget him. And this is why I tell people don't worry about power level in Star Wars too much, because Qui-Gon is undoubtedly one of the most powerful Jedi to have existed in the era, and he still lost to Darth Maul. But Obi-Wan beat Darth Maul. So, fighter's gambit, innit? It's really like that. But Qui-Gon had to go just for the sake of the plot, really, I guess. But he wasn't, it wasn't like they disregarded everything he did prior, Ryan. And, he takes Anakin under his wing, he brings him in, and, you see that bond there. There's like a father-son kind of thing. and then Qui-Gon dies, and then Obi-Wan takes up the mantle, and he's sort of like a father, but then it's a brother and brother relationship. And he looks at Palpatine as like another possible father figure. So it's sort of like showing how Anakin is looking for father figures everywhere. It's similar to what Rey's doing. She's looking for parent figures everywhere. It reminds me of that. It's very, very similar to Anakin's story. But yeah, this film holds a special place in my heart. And in fact, I'm going to go and watch this right now as I fall asleep. And hopefully, when the credits rolls, I can fall asleep. And who knows? Maybe in it, I'll be driving a pod racer, dealing with Sebulba's bullshit. I mean, hell, the minute you open this, right? Let me show you the difference between the Phantom Menace DVD and the Force Awakens. Force Awakens, you got this cool poster. Open it. You got the disc. It's just Rey with BB-8. It's alright. You open the Phantom Menace one, however. Look at that. Darth Maul, front and center. Anakin, Padme. Oh, fantastic female character here. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and then you open it with a little pamphlet. And you've got get the most out of your DVD with a little bit of section, and then you've got the scenes, and then you've got my boy just on the back. And then you've got him inside as well. So, they really nailed that aspect of this thing. And then here you've got the Duel of the Fates in the thing as well. Just there. So I wasn't around for when this film was released. I was only around for when, like, after it was released. And I saw the release of Attack of the Clones in the cinema. And I think my mum took me to see that. And I remember that. That was when I think I hassled my mum to get me this. Because Star Wars was it held a special place in my heart, and that's what I hope, even for the sequel trilogy, despite everything that's going around it, the social justice politics, or whatever. I'm hoping that there's a little kid who can look up to these movies, right? These movies, i.e., this one, they can look up to this, and then they can feel the same energy and passion and care that I felt when I had this. All right, I'm not afraid to say The Phantom Menace is a favorite of mine. I'll gladly rewatch it. It's a bit slow in some places, but it has good qualities. And you know, the way it describes democracy, that film, The Phantom Menace, right, taught me more about politics than any fucking politician ever could. It showed me what the real world is like, full of selfish individuals who are only out for themselves and like to exploit others. That's why I get so pissed off with the social justice movement, because that's all it's for. It's the exploitation of other people. And as Lucas said it himself, it's about democracies and institutions being greedy who don't necessarily care about other people. Let me move this down a little bit just so you can see the nice threads. I thought it was quite fitting to wear the right shirt. But, that's mostly all I have. I really want to do a Star Wars story myself, describing more in detail my journey with the Phantom Menace and what it means to me. And, Star Wars never died, and it will continue to live on. It's just going to suffer a massive kick in the balls. But hey, I used to I don't know if you guys ever had these toys, but you get the figure, you put it on a little voice thing, you put it on the thing, and it would actually say the voice as well, and it was really cool. Around when the Phantom Menace was also not long released, there was all these documents and stories. In fact, I remember I had like a little pamphlet talking about Exar Kun and all the old Sith, the rule of two, and I was just like, I was fascinated. I was like, wow, I thought Star Wars was big, but wow, it's even bigger. And then Disney came along and just got rid of the whole lot of it, but that's its own thing. Um, and yeah, the Phantom Menace got one of the worst reps in film history, and people, there are valid criticisms from the movie that I listen to, i.e., the pacing, sometimes the lines, clunky dialogue and all that. But in all honesty, it's not the worst Star Wars film. It's genuinely not. When The Last Jedi exists, it's genuinely not the worst Star Wars film. And even then, a Star Wars film at its worst, you can still kind of enjoy. I give these sequels a really bad rep, but that's only because I care and I want the best out of these films for the next generation. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm not necessarily thinking about me. I'm thinking about other people who are watching them. If people ain't stupid. I want a kid to look up at The Last Jedi and think, you know what? I want to be as brave as Luke Skywalker. Not saying I want you to run away to an island like a little pussy. I want you to face your fears and fight back and be the best version of yourself. And in this, like, I could not wait to meet this guy. I mean, Sam Witwer, you do a fantastic job of voicing Maul. Fantastic. The guy who played Darth Maul, who voiced Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, Peter Serafinowicz. I can't say his surname. Shout out to you. Your few lines of dialogue were very, like, bone chilling. But Ray Park, meeting Ray Park was one of the highlights of my life. And, I mean that with all my heart because this was a dream come true. I never thought as a kid, I never envisioned or emphasized that one day I would get to meet him. See? I never imagined it. And when I did, I was so happy. And I remember saying to him, I said, some people, it's Darth Vader and whatnot. And he was like, "You're scared of me?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, as a kid, yeah, I reckon I could take you now." But yeah, Ray Park's a lovely dude. And, go and follow him on Instagram as well. Ray Park is keeping the Star Wars events alive, and even when Star Wars fell off the radar, between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens, all you had was the Clone Wars. You didn't really have anything else. And, all the events, he was keeping it alive. His passion, his energy, his drive. So to see that him and people like Sam Witwer are now getting more recognition that they deserve, it's good to see. It's good to see. And also make sure you go and follow me on Instagram as well. Both of them, the Geek Talk Society and Jacob Angel 97. All the other socials for the rest of us will be down in the description below. And yeah, the Phantom Menace, 20 years. Makes me feel old. It actually makes me feel old. I'm 21. I genuinely feel old now. Yeah. Phantom Menace, I'm going to go and pop this into my PlayStation. And I will see you all soon. All right. Interesting. These are always hard to, like, close up.